Welcome to Spill by Sam. So there's an unexpected result to the World Cup other than a team winning or a team losing. And I saw some commentary online that I felt like needed to be discussed. I think a lot of people don't really think about this, but do you guys know that when a team loses, the domestic violence in that country increases exponentially? That was unexpected. So we're going to take a look at some of the commentary online and then we're going to discuss. And I also encourage you guys to share your opinions in the comments as well because I want to know what you have to say. Honestly, this is kind of unexpected for me. I really did not anticipate this being a cause and effect type of thing when it came to the World Cup, and it's it's disheartening to say the least because not only do women have to worry about the abuse that they may suffer from their partner on a regular basis, they also now have to take into consideration what will be the result of the game that my man is watching. What will be the result if his team loses?
I don't know who needs to hear this, but if it's you, please do listen. If you watched England lose last night and your first instinct was to get up from where you were, whether that be your living room or a pub or wherever you were, and go and find the woman that you're supposed to love most in your life and the woman who loves you and batter her to the ends of the earth because a football game was lost that had nothing to do with her and nothing to do with you, then you are scum. There are 999 call handlers coming out today and saying that even though they've worked in the profession for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, last night was the roughest night they've ever worked. It was the roughest night they've ever worked because they had so many Category 1s that they couldn't keep up. Category 1s is violence, by the way. They had that many women who were being battered by their husbands, by their partners, by their boyfriends, children being battered by their fathers, that they could not keep up. That is the cowardice of men in this day and age. Not all men, I repeat it every time I do a video like this, not all men. But it will continue to be all men until it is no men, or at least the minority of men. I do not understand the feeling of being able to look at someone I love with violence in my heart. Because I am a decent human being, because I was brought up correctly. If you're about to tell me, I didn't mean it, it was the booze, I was drunk, stop fucking drinking. I didn't mean it, it was the football that gets me angry, stop watching football. I didn't mean it, I was on drugs, stop taking fucking drugs. Just stop. There is no excuse for ever putting your hand to a woman. There is no excuse for ever putting your hand to an innocent party. Ever. There would have been no excuse for you to get on a plane, fly to America and punch Thomas Tuchel. Why the fuck are you trying to pretend that there is any excuse for the bullshit that you come out with? If you can ever find a way to justify balling your hands up into fists and scaring the living daylights out of someone you're supposed to love, you do not have a place on this earth. You do not have a place on this earth taking up our oxygen. Get to
Honestly, men are terrorists. Men are terrorists, and there's no other way for me to put it. And just like she said, it's not all men, of course. They're not all men are going to go home and beat on their partners when their team loses a game. It's not even your team because you're not getting paid when they win. You're not losing anything when they lose. But not all men, but it's always a man. always a man. And I think it's about time we start holding these men accountable for the things that they do. I think it's about time we stop using whether it's sports or alcohol or drugs as an excuse to warrant a man reacting the way he does in certain situations. Football is just a game like any other game. It's just a game. So it should never warrant a man going home to beat on his partner in a way where they can literally quantify how much the abuse has increased. Are you okay? It's wild to me that this is even a thing. Honestly, when I saw the first video, this is the first video I saw. My brain said, what? That's a thing? But apparently, this video will mainly focus on the impact on England, right? On women in England. But what I do know is that if this is happening there, it's happening everywhere. Imagine in the US with NFL. Imagine in Brazil with football too, and Mexico with football. There are men who wait 4 years and look forward to this game, and they dedicate their lives and the way they relate to their friends and who they become friends with based on what team they support. So can you imagine the impact that women feel all over the world? I don't know if this is true, but I saw a comment that said that 2 women died in Mexico after Mexico was eliminated from the World Cup. And for me to hear about this and to listen to see these videos and realize for the first time that this is the first time that I personally am thinking about the impact of what losing, a country losing, has on women in that country is, I am mind blown. And I think this should be a conversation that everyone is having.
But as a professional in the domestic abuse space, I am also have my worries, because I know for some people they won't be looking forward to it in the same way. They will be actually dreading it.
Today, England are playing in the World Cup semi-final, but research shows the incidents of domestic violence rise around major football tournaments, by 38% when England lose and 26% when they win. And experts fear these numbers could be even higher, as many people are too afraid to report the crime. Domestic abuse disproportionately affects women, with around 1 in 3 having experienced it since adulthood. I spoke to Women's Aid, who released their other kick-off campaign at the start of the World Cup. They're highlighting an alternative kick-off time, when abusers come home after the match ends, to raise awareness for the women and children who could be at risk.
Whilst many people are excited about this starting whistle on Wednesday night, a lot of people will be actually more worried about the other kick-off, the one that happens when their partner comes home from the match.
So why is domestic abuse higher around football tournaments? Women's Aid say that emotions running high and people drinking alcohol could be contributing factors. However, they are clear that they do not blame the football or alcohol for the rise in abuse, and that the responsibility lies with the perpetrator. The organisation is now calling on the government to make this a national conversation in order to support a culture change, as well as to provide sufficient long-term funding. They've also called on Andy Burnham, who's expected to be the new Prime Minister, to heighten visibility on the issue by talking about what behaviour is acceptable and what isn't.
It is as important now as it has ever been to really push the message that abuse is not normal, it is not acceptable, and help is out there if you need it.
If you need help, you can go onto the Women's Aid website or call the National Domestic Abuse Helpline. If it's an emergency, please call 999.
I'm not particularly a fan of football, nor do I have a team that I am excited about winning or anything like that, right? I'm not a sports girl. However, what I do enjoy is the good naturedly joy, just the joy of the competition. Picking a team and saying who will win, you know, enjoying laughing and watching the game and the excitement of seeing a goal being scored, all of those things. And I just think about, okay, that's what I feel, because I don't have an abusive partner. And for it to have a term, the kickoff, after the kickoff, imagine, this has been a thing. This has been a thing that has been constantly going on for years. What is being done about this? I just have so many questions, because honestly, this is the first time that I'm ever seeing this narrative online. And can you imagine the anxiety, just the overall experience of a woman who knows that when her partner comes home, his team has lost, he's abusive overall, but now he has a reason to be mad. That big man baby is going to come home and beat on me because he's upset that his team lost a game. Do we all not see how wild that is? This is a grown man, an adult, that's going to come home and he's going to beat on his children, beat on his wife or his girlfriend or his partner or whatever, because his team lost a game. Nothing about this is normal. And for it to be a thing, the kickoff, that's what gets me, the kickoff after the kickoff. So we know, like, I know a lot of women are in abusive situations, and a lot of times we question, why do they stay? Why do they allow this man to, first of all, she's not allowing a man to beat on her. Most times they don't want to be beaten up. Nobody wants to be abused. But there are so many circumstances surrounding why a woman cannot leave or won't leave. Do we not know how trauma works? Like, I see it in the comments about why doesn't she just leave? She knew he was going to come home. She doesn't have anywhere to go, Bookie.
England won the football last night, but there are women out there that won't be celebrating. Domestic violence increases by 26% when a national team plays football, by 38% if they lose, 11% the day after, regardless of the outcome. And alcohol-related abuse can rise by almost 50% with an England victory. Domestic abuse can affect anyone, but women are disproportionately affected, and women are far more likely to experience severe, continued and life-threatening abuse. Now let's be clear, football does not cause domestic abuse. Abusers cause domestic abuse. But major football tournaments can act as a trigger. So while we celebrate England's win today, let's spare a thought for the women and children who are suffering behind closed doors. If you or somebody you know needs help because of domestic violence, please reach out. Here in Norfolk, we have Dawn's New Horizon. They support survivors of domestic abuse with practical help, therapy and planning, along with emotional support. You can also contact the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, and that is open 24 hours a day. And I will put the telephone number of this helpline on screen for you now. Football should bring people together, not leave them living in fear.
England punched her, he bit her, he scratched her, he kicked her, because England lost a football match. One of my followers, who I do keep in regular contact with, is the victim of a domestic violence situation. And this World Cup series has just made it worse, regardless of whether England lost or England won. He got pissed, he came home and he took it out on her. She's got children in that house, which is, most of you will say, why doesn't she leave? Why doesn't she leave? She's got children in that house. She's now gone to the police and reported him because obviously this has happened overnight. She's now in a safe house, apparently, but she needs out of the property. It's in his name, so she can't live there again. She can afford the rent, she goes to work, that is absolutely fine, but she needs out of this house. So can we please help her? Just £1 or £2 or £5, if you're able to, please do so. The GoFundMe link is in my bio. Just because England lost a football game. That's not the reason though, is it? It's an excuse. Domestic violence is an excuse to beat the shit out of your partner whenever you want to. So losing a football match, winning a football match, maybe even a piece of burnt toast, it doesn't matter. If somebody's going to hit a partner, they're going to do it regardless. There's no excuse. Please go to the link in my bio and help her if you can. Thank you.
When your team loses, there are some who turn into monsters when their team... Did you know after England loses, people go home and they take it out on their wives? This is all such a big shame because England did so well in this tournament. Now, obviously, I'm not part of England and Argentina's historic beef with each other, but you knew the cameras were rolling, and this is how you chose to represent your nation, home and abroad. I do not recognize this hooligan behavior. This is not the England that I know.
In multiple of the videos, I do see where they're saying that like domestic abuse is not normal, and we should, you know, or the government should, or the football should, or FIFA should say and announce that it's not normal. They know it's not normal. They know it's not normal. But what I do know has become normal is our acceptance of domestic violence and making excuses for men and acting like situations are created for them to react a certain way. Football does not cause domestic violence. I don't see the relationship of cause and effect there. Like, that just does not compute to me. What does compute is that men do not know how to manage their emotions. Men do not know how to process the feelings of anger. Matter of fact, they equate disappointment to anger, annoyance to anger. Any sort of negative emotion translates to anger. I don't understand why. Maybe I do understand why, just a little bit, because what our cultures, and I realize this is a worldwide thing, where we expect women to understand our feelings and be able to communicate properly, and we expect women to not be angry. We expect women to process and have conversations and sit down and talk about our feelings. But when it comes to a man doing that, it's, oh, he's being feminine, or he's being overly emotional. So what has translated from those boys not being able to express their emotion is men who are unable to express emotions because they were never taught to do so. They were never taught how to handle disappointment. They were never taught how to handle rejection. That's a whole other conversation entirely, right? But what we can do is say, you are scum for doing what you're doing right now. You are scum for going home and beating on your wife because your team lost a football game. And I know this video again focuses only on England, but I know it happens everywhere. I know it happens everywhere. And can you imagine a man coming home and saying, oh, or not even saying, but being upset, and then starts just hitting you out of nowhere because they lost a football match? Not even you, because you didn't play. You don't have the ability to play. More than likely, your belly is big. More than likely, your belly is big. You're a gambler. You're a smoker. You are unhealthy. You're also a drinker. Am I stereotyping right now? But this makes me so angry because there's absolutely no excuse for behaving this way. If women are expected to know how to manage our emotions, men should be expected to do the same. Men should be expected to do the same. Women and children should feel safe in their homes. Women should be able to watch a game with their partners, and even if your team loses or his team loses, you should be able to have dinner and go to bed and wake up the next day and it be a regular day. Because guess what? Again, most of these men have zero stakes in this game. Some of them gamble, and I can understand being upset about losing money, actual money. However, it never warrants the type of violence that it causes. I don't see it ever warranting the type of violence that women have to endure.
I haven't been this riled up in a minute. I have been seeing a shit ton of videos this week ever since England lost in the World Cup. Content from people who work for emergency services like 999, that's the 911 over in England, of an uptick in domestic violence calls directly following the team's loss. There is something deeply and profoundly rotten that anytime a major sporting event happens, domestic violence organizations and emergency services have to prepare for women to be attacked. Not players or referees, women sitting in their own homes. So after England recently lost, emergency service workers started reporting a sharp increase in attacks against women. And before any Americans are sitting here really comfy on their couch being like, well, that's England, the same goes true for the Super Bowl and NFL games. This is not about football. This is not about soccer. This is about men. And I know there are millions of people who watch sports and their teams lose and they do not go home and beat the shit out of a woman. But it is so sad that there are so many women who are watching games at home and they're not clocking the final score. They are watching out of the corner of their eye how their husband or their partner or their boyfriend is acting. Monitoring how much he's had to drink. How is he breathing? What does his face look like? And while he's concerned on whether his team can make a comeback, she's literally wondering if she has to get the children into another room. You can sit with that because it's uncomfortable, and it should be. But a grown-ass man who's concerned about a team that has nothing to do with him loses, and he wants to take it out on the woman he's supposed to love. But do you want to know why I'm fucking seething? Because I've seen this content, and in the comment sections, there are way too many men who are making excuses for men who beat the shit out of their partners. Oh, it was probably just the alcohol. Maybe they lost out on a lot of money. It was a devastating loss. No. Maybe those things removed the restraint, but let's not pretend like he did not feel entitled to hurt her already. It just gave him permission. And I'm so sick of women being handed safety plans while men are being handed out explanations. Women, make sure you have a place to go. Women, make sure your phone's charged. Women, make sure you're monitoring how much he's drinking. Women, make sure you know where the emergency exits are. I have an idea. How about men stop terrorizing fucking women because somebody missed a field goal? So let me make this painfully clear. If your partner's safety depends on your team winning, you're not some passionate fan. You are an abuser.
He made such a valid point about women being handed safety plans while men are being handed excuses. Because for them to say, oh, it's the alcohol, oh, you know, their intensified emotions, or they may have been gambling, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The fact is, this man felt like he's entitled to put his hands on a woman because at the end of the day, let's be so real. Let's be real about this. There are very little consequences for an abusive man. Very little consequences for an abusive man. When a woman reports abuse, she may get a restraining order. She may get the man locked up. Whatever it is, guess what? You see, when he's released, or even if he decides to break the restraining order, what's going to happen? No, nothing. Slap on the wrist every time. So the excuse of, you know, it's the alcohol or it's, what it is the lack of repercussions, the lack of consequences for these actions. That is the major issue, right? Because, and again, I've seen a lot of commentary about women becoming just as violent as men. Is that the world that we really want to live in? Where a woman can just say, you know what, I feel threatened, so I'm just gonna shoot you. I bet they'd stop. I bet a man would think twice. I feel threatened. My life feels threatened right now. I feel afraid, so I'm just gonna shoot you. Also, for you to say, oh, she needs to manage how much she drinks. Maybe she needs to go somewhere else while the game is on. Maybe she needs to separate the children. Maybe a man should be held accountable for his actions. Maybe men should stop abusing women. Maybe there should be harsher punishments for men who abuse their wives and their girlfriends. Because we can make excuses all we want about the way boys are raised and how they become adults and the things that they do and how they manage their emotions. However, I think it's about time that we accept that women have also been in abusive situations when we're young. A lot of women, way more than men, are in abusive situations when they're younger, and they grow up and they manage their trauma. They heal. They take active steps to become better people. And I'm not saying men don't do that, but the instance of a man doing that, or just riding along of, oh, this is the way I was raised, or I saw my father beating my mother, and so I'm going to beat my wife. I've said all this to say, men need to be held accountable for their actions. Yes, a woman should never stay in an abusive situation. However, the resources are inadequate, if we're being honest. And when a woman leaves, her life is in danger. She more than likely, a lot of times, and I'm using these phrases because I've seen it happen time and time again. A woman is in an abusive situation and she leaves and then she ends up dead. And if she doesn't end up dead, she's running for her entire life. Because at the end of the day, a man has received a slap on the wrist. He may have gone to jail for a couple of months, or he may have done community service, but did that really change the behavior? No, it didn't. It didn't change the behavior. She's still in danger. So, football doesn't cause violence. Football doesn't encourage men to beat up their wives. No major sport encourage a man to be abusive or to beat up his kids or any. No, it doesn't encourage any of that. It's a competition. It's a game. It's meant for entertainment, for fun. But for so many women, it's a sign that, hey, I need to prepare myself to call emergency services. I might die tonight because this country lost a match and dropped out. I might die tonight because a team lost a match and dropped out. I could talk forever and a day about this. And I know me talking about it may not change anything, but maybe just like me, another person is hearing about this for the first time. And I hope that going forward, most major sports organizations take this into consideration as well. What can we do to prevent these grown baby men, these childish men, from taking out their emotions on their families, on innocent people who have absolutely nothing to do with the game that's being played? How can we fix this as a society? Because it happens everywhere. It's not just the UK, and it's not just about football. It's about every major sport. And the fact that women are being terrorized by men. This was Spilled by Sam. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to like, share, comment. See you in the next video. Bye.